people see these people on TV, and it does not match what it is on the court. I'm sure you've met a lot of players, and you say, "Oh, they're so big," but when you get on this massive court in this massive arena with these massive people who are so talented, you almost gotta take it in. The teams do that still to today. Like if you see a young guy get in the game this year on certain teams, the better team is, I don't care what number that guy got picked, and they're going at him because that moment is always that moment.
What was it like being a top recruit at a high school, like a top 100 recruit?
Man, Diego, it's crazy. I didn't become a top 100 recruit until my senior year. When those 99 guys were going to run into Gary Clark, I've been doing something I know they haven't been doing. And it ended up, I tell my little brother, max out every day. And then after my 7th grade year, I started dunking. Going from 7th to 8th grade year, I started dunking.
Well, it's funny because so Diego, 13 years old here, I see some parallels and some non-parallels. So the dunking at this age, no, because you're far from that. So that's where you guys are opposite.
I'm grabbing rim.
I'm
grabbing net. I'm grabbing net.
Grab the very bottom notch. Maybe ticket.
Hey, you'll get there though. Just keep for it. As long as you keep reaching for it, you're gonna keep adding a little bit more, and you're gonna get to the rim. And next thing you know, Pop's gonna be throwing you an alley. And that's all you can do is just be able to get the rim grazers, and they count.
This is former Chicago Bear Desmond Clark. And y'all hear me on many podcasts, but when y'all hear me on Pick'em Pros, y'all know it's all about family. This ain't just business.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. You know who it is. I am Derek Thompson.
And I'm Diego Thompson.
And who are we?
We're the Pick'em Pros.
We are the Pick'em Pros coming back at you in the house, man. We are on the road, undisclosed location again. You know how we do. We're out here handling a little business right now. But we have a special guest here before we head back and get back to North Carolina, the home here, rep the Carolina Hurricane. Before we get back to North Carolina, we have one of North Carolina's finest, specifically Johnston County, Clayton Smithfield area where we reside. We have Gary Clark. He is a professional basketball player, and we're going to have him on in just a minute and talk about his journey through life, through basketball, to the NBA, to the NBL, the Hawks, where he is about to play this season. And we're just so excited to have him on. Man, you ready to have him on?
I'm ready. Let's bring him in.
Yeah. All right, man. You have prepared some great questions, so you put that work in. So we'll see what questions you have for Gary, and I'll throw a few more in and just talk about it. So again, he's our second athlete that we had on the show. We had Desmond Clark for the former tight end of Chicago Bears, who's now regular contributor when we talk NFL. Now we have Gary Clark, maybe our second, and we'll just keep, adding here. So thanks for all the love and support. Please make sure you subscribe, add comments. Let's ask Gary some more questions because we're proud of what he's done and what he's about to do. So let's go ahead and bring him in. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's bring Gary Clark in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are the Pick'em Pros. I am Derek Thompson.
And I'm Diego Thompson.
All right, we're the Pick'em Pros, and we are thrilled today. We've got the homie Gary Clark joining us today. Yo, man, welcome. Thank you for joining us, Gary.
Of course, I appreciate you guys taking the time, to get me on the show. We talked about it a little bit ago at my cousin Clyde's event he had for the community in Clayton, and it's, I'm glad we finally made it work and we could get this thing on so people can hear a little bit about, especially shine some light on the crew. crew.
All right. That's right. That's right. The crew Pickle Pros, man. Well, thank you. Yeah, we're up and coming, trying to do our thing. And, you know, a show that's kind of, you know, by the fans, for the fans, and, you know, kind of trying to carve our niche in this whole sports media journey here. So, yeah, thrilled to have you, man. And, yeah, we met at, you know, big basketball tournament, 3-on-3 tournament in Clayton, you know, representing the community. And, of course, you were there and met us, didn't know us, you know, from Adam. And you're so gracious to take pictures with us. And then, you know, so many people say, yeah, you know, I'll be on. But you were for real, followed up, hit me up after the fact to come on. So we really, really appreciate that, man.
Of course. I know it's a little delayed, but I'm glad we were able to make it work.
For sure. All right. Yeah, well, let's get on into it, man. Diego's prepared a set of great questions, you know, from his perspective. You know, we really want to overall today just, you know, dig into your journey to the NBA, where you are now, and really kind of, you know, inspire other people that are on that path, trying to make it. A lot of folks really don't know what it takes to make it. So as we have guests on, that's one of the things that we really like to dive into. So before Diego goes into his great questions, I'd love to have you just kind of summarize for us, you know, your journey to the NBA and where you are right now.
Okay. You know, and like we started, I'm from, you know, I was actually, you know, born. There's a little discrepancy of where I'm from. You know, and I'm born at the hospital in Smithfield, North Carolina.
Oh yeah, okay, I understand that.
There's a huge where I'm from kind of question, because my Smithfield folks, you know, want to claim me and represent. You know, of course, I represent Smithfield. I lived there multiple times throughout my life. You know, and back then in Clayton, there wasn't a hospital in Clayton. It was you either were born in Smithfield or you were born in Raleigh at Wake Med. And, you know, my family has, you know, Smithfield, we have roots and stuff. And we've come from Smithfield. Like, you know, not saying that none of my family's from there. We've lived there. My aunts, my grandmother, people have lived there at times. And so the fact that I was born in Smithfield. And then throughout my journey, middle school, I lived there, actually in I don't even know the proper name of it, but the projects in Smithfield, right beside the Family Life Center, near South Campus, or the Safe School or whatever, for troubled teens. So I have some good history and, you know, roots that started right there in Smithfield. Like, it's been in Smithfield and the heart of my journey in my basketball, and, you know, so, you know, I'm glad I'm able to acknowledge that here. You know, for a lot of people who watch it from Smithfield. So, you know, I'm from Clayton, North Carolina, though. Like, you know, born in, you know, just raised and just homegrown, you know, all throughout. You know, I'm from the other side of the tracks, you know, that country side of the tracks. And all my friends and stuff are on the other side of the tracks, where Cooper and Riverwood and all that stuff. And it's just, you know, for my, you know, as far as my basketball, I started playing. Funny story, actually. It's irony. It started. No one has ever heard this story, but my family was living in Smithfield in those apartments, and a guy, Mr. Matt, he used to date my aunt Connie. Her name's Constance, and he used to coach Parks and Recs and stuff. His son is actually Matt Montgomery, Jr., who went to Columbia, and Mr. Mack had always just, you know, took the time to, you know, he used to always say me, man, because they call me man. I'm going to make sure you're on my team, you know, because the first time I played Parks and Rec, I had never played basketball, but I remember being the fastest kid at, like, it used to be like a draft. And my mom took me to the draft, and I'm like, the end of it, it was like down and back sprints. And I had to have been maybe 8 years old. Maybe 8, 9, and I just knew I was the fastest kid. No one knew who I was. My mom just finally put me, Mr. Mack, like, you know, told my mom to put me in the first year, and I was the fastest. I got drafted number 1. This is the beginning of my basketball stuff.
Wow.
And we ended up, my first game, I ended up playing against my cousin, Trey. And he was, at the time, he was one of those younger athletes. He was a little older than me, but like everyone knew Trey was a football star, basketball star. He was just a really good athlete. And I don't remember much of the game. I just remember, my memory is just seeing him before the game and then just a blur. Like, I don't remember anything. And I remember going to school the next day, or like later on that week or something, because Parks and Rec was always on Saturday, Sunday. And one of my teachers, I think I was in the 1st grade or maybe 3rd grade, I don't know what grade, but she came and she gave me the newspaper, and there was an article about my first game. And it was like, you know, the Parks and Rec little like section they had. And it was like Gary Clark and his team. I don't even know what our team name was. Gary led the way in scoring with like 16 points, and he going against Trey. You know, my cousin named Trey. I think we would have won points or something. And I had no idea anything about basketball at the time. You know, that was just me just going out there just playing, and like a telltale of like, you know, kind of where my journey, you know, finds itself. But the start of it was just kind of like just naturally just happened, where I had no training or anyone that, you know, put that in me. So after that, the next year, or like 2 years, the next year, you know, my family, we signed up, but we just, you know, my parents was just, we were constantly moving and stuff. So it was hard for me to always be attending to practice. I think the second year I maybe made 2 games, like the whole rec league. And so of course I was frustrated, as you know, as young as I was. But the next year, Mr. Mack, he was dating my aunt. He made sure, like, he pulled some strings, probably, like, just, you know, because you can claim your sons, and you know, before the pick stuff even happens. So he has his nephew, and that's how they were able to get me on him and my aunt. Because my aunt Connie, she coached too. So I was on. But that summer of my 4th grade year, I was playing backyard football, and it was like kind of cold outside, so Park and Rec was about to start up. And I went to tackle one of my buddies. He was way older, and he fell back on me, and he knocked the wind out of me. And I couldn't get up. I was in the 4th grade, so I don't know how old I was. I had been like 10 maybe. And I told my buddy, like, you have to go get your dad. Like, it's been 10 minutes, and I can't get the wind back in me, and I can't get up. And it's during the summertime, I believe, because so like all the parents are at work. So one of those things where, you know, I knew his dad was home. So I was like, you have to go get your dad, bro. I don't know what's going on. So his dad literally drives his car in this massive field. I was at my grandmother's house. She lives in a trailer park in Clayton. Like, I don't know if you know where West Clayton is.
Yes.
The trailer park across the street is Alta. And it was one of those, he drove his car in that big field and like picked me up, put me in the car, and took me to my grandmother's trailer. And no one was home, because, you know, back then it was just, you know, we all just kind of policed ourselves and hung out at grandma's, and walk home from lunch and feed us for lunch, and then go back, and then, or my mom would come back, or somebody would, you know, just make sure we were good. And my aunt, that day, my aunt never comes to my grandmother's house. That day, she was on duty to stop by and check on me and like a couple of my cousins and stuff. And when my friend's dad brought me there home, he just kind of like, you know, he explained to my aunt. He called my grandmother and told her what happened, and called my mom. So my aunt had pulled up, and she would not let me go to sleep, because I was just, I don't know, I was wanted to go to sleep. And she wouldn't let me go to sleep. And then she was like, you will not go to sleep. Don't go to sleep. Don't go to sleep. And, you know, she calls the ambulance, like, you know, the 911, and my mom says, just call 911. And I rode on, you know, the ambulance for the first time, and they took me to Smithfield, to the hospital in Smithfield. And ladies, you know, I ended up finding out I cut my spleen. They didn't know what was wrong with me, because I was just sleepy. So like after hours of test running and things like that, they finally come to the conclusion that I had cut my spleen. So then they transferred me to Chapel Hill, and my first day there, I actually they brought me in because I was able to finally go to sleep on my ride up.
Okay.
And I got there and I woke up to in a room, in a hospital room where it was like one of those big rooms with the curtains, and there was like someone next door actually, going through something traumatic where he ended up passing in those moments. And it was like, wow. They ended up taking me upstairs, giving me morphine, and I couldn't hold it. And I found out I was allergic to morphine. And long story short, they ended up telling me I didn't eat for 2 weeks. I couldn't eat any food for 2 weeks. It was just fluid. And they ended up basically, you can't do anything for 4 months, 4 months. Like, you can't walk, you can't exert any injury because you're allergic to morphine. So like, they didn't want to do surgery or anything like that. So I didn't walk for 2 weeks either. So after that, I spent time with my Aunt Connie, who was my basketball coach from Mr. Mac, and my great grandmother. And they took care of me because my father and my mom, they couldn't take off work to like make sure that they spend time with me. So I was pretty much spoiled for the next 3 months of, with my great grandmother and my great aunt cooking for me every day, and adamant that I could not get out of bed. And one time they caught me out of bed, they laid into me pretty hard. But at that point, basketball, it was done for me. I was a kid. I didn't understand. I cut my spleen. I bleeding internally. They told me I couldn't do anything for 3 months. So sports, absolutely not. Never again. It's just not going to happen. Not because I don't want to. It's just I have a fear now of if I re-injure myself, then what will happen? Because I realized that had I gone to sleep at my grandmother's house, bleeding internally, who knows what would have happened to me? Catastrophic, being that all the parents were at work, and my grandmother and my aunt was in the right place at the right time to keep me. It was time for me, for her to make that decision for me. And I still, my aunt is weird because my aunt don't, she rarely tell people she loved them, but like, to this day, I tell her I love her. And she's funny. Yeah. She's one of them aunts that's just really funny and loud. We call her nickname is Love. It's funny. She tells no one she loves anyone. To this day, I tell her I love her, and I tell everyone I love them, but I tell her I love her, and she'll tell me back, and she won't tell anybody else. So my grandmother gets on her all the time, like, you don't need to tell me you love me back, and I think subconsciously we have that. I have that appreciation for what, her saving my life, in my heart and mind, and I think same way back. So after that, Mr. Mack and my Aunt Connie was still coaching that team that year that I was supposed to be on. He pulled the strings and got one of the best players on his team, and then play. So about 2 months into that, they like asked me, if I wanted to come take the team photo, and I'll find it and I'll send it to you. But I have a team photo where I came in with my pajamas, and they gave me a jersey, and I looked real because I hadn't been doing anything, and I'm like coaching basketball, and they were kind of just, they know I had been down in the dumps as a fifth grader at this time, that I hadn't been able to play sports again. So after that, I was out of bed rest after like 3.5 months, 4 months. Had no intentions on playing basketball. Just went to the 6th grade. I wasn't focused at the time. I was just kind of just doing whatever. I repeated the 6th grade, and that's when a man, Urban Smith, came in, and he called and said, "Hey, some of my kids told me that there's a tall kid." He called my school and said, "There's a tall kid that may want to play, that may could play basketball, and could you give me his parents' information?" And then the principal was like, "Well, I'll ask his mom first," and then, so then he got in touch with my mom. Mind you, I just repeated the 6th grade, so you could say I was on a path to nowhere at that point. And him stepping in and just, kind of gave that outlet where brought basketball back into my life, because I thought I couldn't play sports again because of my
right.
where kind of from there, the rest was history because of the time he was putting in me for AAU. That was the first AAU team. No, scratch that. Second AAU team. No, first AAU team. Yeah, first AAU team I played for, where it started to, really kind of all work out for me. Because I hadn't put any time into the sport at all. I think the first time Mr. Mack, before I became on his team, he took me to my first basketball. No, sixth grade. Yeah, sixth grade. He took me while me and my mom we all lived in Smithfield, North Carolina. Before Coach Irvin came to get me, my first year in sixth grade, Mr. Mack came down to Smithfield while we were living there, and it's like, hey, I got this camp you want to come to? And it was at the high school, and I was like, my mom was like, of course, take them, and I had no basketball shoes. I had like some like running shoes like that I couldn't even fit. They was my mom's, but like every year from when I was 10 years old, my shoe size was the same size as my age. So 10, I wore 10, 11. When I was 16, it stopped, and I wear like a 16 now, and that's so at that time I had like some cargo shorts on because I didn't have any shorts, and I had a big old black T-shirt on, and I went to again, I used to go to the Family Life Center court and play, and I went, and I remember only one of the drills they put me through, they had like a defender at the basket, and we were sixth graders, so they was like, all right, come down with your left hand, crossover, and just do a right hand layup. And I was always soft spoken, and I end up like I was next. I saw everybody do it, and I went down, and I don't know what told me to do it, but I came down and I like spun off of the guy, the coach. Came down and just did a spin move, and I missed the layup. And I kid you not, all the coaches and instructors lost it, and I was like, wait, what happened? Like, I just did what I thought was just what I into the basket, and I hadn't played like real organized basketball and since third grade when I played against my cousin and my teacher gave me the paper, and then I had the injury. So this was like my first athletic basketball anything since my injury, and I just spun off, and the coaches was like lost it, and one of the coaches was like, man, do the drill right, but the coach that was on there, he like whispered, was like, do it again, like that was nice, do it again, and I like came down and did it. That was the first, Smithfield, where there's an argument about, where I'm from and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
They kind of saw the first of Gary Clark at such a young age, where basketball was in my mind didn't exist because I had that injury.
Wow.
And I was held back that year, in sixth grade, and then Coach Irvin stepped in the next year and started playing with the Clayton Titans. And first year I was kind of pretty good, but not that good. And he instilled a work ethic of us training and stuff like that. And our seventh grade year, it was up from there. It was like we were going to those same tournaments and we wasn't getting beat. We were trying to win. And then after my seventh grade year, I started dunking. Like going from seventh to eighth grade year, I started dunking. And Mr. Mack come back in my life. He was always in my life, but he was always had the torch. He had the guy like, all right, let's go here. And he sent me to Ohio to play with what he said LeBron James' AAU team, but it was like a guy he like kind of sponsored. So it went from there, and they kind of started traveling, and I was put in situations where I was like flying for the first time as a eighth grader, alone without my parents, with Mr. Mack people he was sending me with. So I had no real idea who I was with, but it led me to some kind of beautiful things that end up transpiring in my life with basketball and stuff like that. So that's a little rough draft of all the way high school, but I'm sure we'll get into it later. But that's like some things that people don't know about, like my journey.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, it's funny because so Diego, 13 years old here, I see some parallels and some non-parallels. So I guess perpendicular, I guess, would be if we're gonna get technical with it. So the dunking at this age, no, because you're far from that. So that's where you guys are opposite.
I'm grabbing rim. I'm grabbing net. I'm grabbing net.
You grab the bottom, the very bottom notch. So you maybe ticket.
Hey, you'll get there though. You just keep. As long as you keep reaching for it, you're going to keep adding a little bit more, and you're going to get to the rim. And they say, Pop's going to be throwing you an alley. And that's all you can do is just be able to get the rim grazes, and they count.
That's right. But the one similarity, which I'm sure you peeped, so his first basketball experience was at Smithfield Parks and Rec. So he always, talks fondly about Smithfield Parks and Rec playing out there. So I immediately thought of that when you mentioned that you played there. So yeah. Ooh, well, hey, that is like, I didn't know so much of that. So that's an amazing journey to that point. So I want to stop. Diego has some questions. I want to go into some of the questions that you have that I think goes into some of that next level, and then I may come with some follow-up questions. But let's go into what you have.
All right, so I got a couple questions. So the first question is, what was it like being a top recruit at a high school, like a top 100 recruit? How was it like?
Man, Diego, it's crazy. I didn't become a top 100 recruit until my senior year. And, I had never paid attention to it either. It never mattered to me. I saw a lot of, playing with Coach Irvin. That wasn't a thing. It was like I was having so much fun spending time with like a lot of my friends that I went from repeating the 6th grade to essentially falling into this basketball world that I may have not happened had I not repeated the 6th grade. So I didn't really, by the time I got to, I was dunking my 8th grade year, my first game, jump ball, tipped it back, came down inside, layup, come back down on defense. Like, I was notorious for like cheating plays, like reading people's eyes. I steal it, I go down, first defensive play, I dunk it, then go crazy, insane. I had no idea that being recruited or any of that stuff was a thing. I just, I was just enjoying basketball. So when I got to 9th grade year, and still had no idea that was a thing. And I went to Mr. Mack and his guy Ryan sent me to like a super soft camp. It was like a sophomore camp. So it was like after my freshman year in high school, I had like a decent showing. I don't even think I was in high school yet. I think they sent me way before I was supposed to go. And I was terrible. By no means I did anything good. I'm not good. I don't play good in all-star games. I don't play good in things about individuals. Like when it's about an individual, I've never thrived. So a lot of times, that was the first moment I realized that's not how I want to play the game. So so that went right into like not caring about being being a high recruit. I think my peers and the people who knew the work that I was putting in and the numbers I was doing, like they were all frustrated by me not being top ranked. And they're like, yo, if you guys come to Little Clayton and see this kid, there's no way you would think any of those guys are better than this guy. I mean, I have a quadruple double, like the first in North Carolina, but and this is humbly saying, and this is me just throwing it out there, I guarantee you that was not the first one that I had, like without a doubt. But I don't know who can do the research and find out the stats and stuff.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that wasn't the first one. That within AAU, I probably averaged a triple double. Like that was just the style, and I never kept up with those things.
Yeah.
Coach Irvin never made it a thing like that. And most of the time, I didn't know how many points I had unless my teammates, one of them had 20, and then the guys are like, well, who led us? And then they'll throw out, oh, Gary had 40. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, it never, none of that stuff ever mattered to me. And then my guys, any of my guys that I play with, they'll say the same thing. Gary's selfless. He hardly ever cared about his numbers. So
Yeah.
who would know if I ever had a quadruple double or how many I had? But the recruiting thing, I became 100 my junior year going into my senior year, and it was almost like even more disrespectful to me because I didn't care about it, and you guys did a pity party in my mind to put me as 100 because all my peers and the fans and community was like so hard on ESPN. You made me 100, and it's like now you piss me off. I don't even feel like I should be on there at all.
I love
it. Like this, now I can see the 99 people that's better than me. So you know
what?
Ooh, I took it to a whole nother place, and I didn't make McDonald's All-American, and that was like one of those moments where like it just fueled me to go to another place. So yeah, that was like a little bit about my recruitment.
Wow. That's something. So you mentioned like the work ethic that you have. So I wanted to know how were your workouts? How do you feel what it takes to get to the NBA?
Man, I saw DeMar DeRozan say something in a podcast the other day, and it's just head on, and a younger version of me, I had no idea, but it was being instilled in me, a little bit by little bit. It's just the discipline about just showing up, literally just showing up every day. Because a lot of kids, like this summertime, like my little brother, I'm on him heavy, but the summertime is just like showing up and being in there, putting the work. Even if you're alone, you're doing something that's the next kid that their buddy is playing that video game all summer. You did something every day. You did a little bit more than him. And I think that was just like my idea of my journey. It's like I never cared about the recruiting part because I was just having so much fun of like just working out and being in the gym and it being like my sanctuary. And to the point where I was so disciplined that it started to show in my game. And I like every year, like each year I was pretty good, but every year I got drastically better. And it was like, I was doing the quadruple double thing like a lot probably in, AAU in middle school and even only early on in high school. But it was my after the Coach Urban era, I moved on, I had to break some hearts there and moved on to a team called Red Storm. And they kind of helped me find that like work ethic. I call it that dog, the inside, like that they put you as 100, like that's disrespectful. Because I'm so empathetic, I'm such a laid back guy. Even when it happened, I was just like, all right, whatever. But like they like, nah, we not having that. And shout out to those guys because they kind of lit a fire that it was a fire there, but they put like gasoline on it. You could just say like it's all right to put gasoline on certain fires, and that fire took me to another place. So, and I was grinding. I mean, I was living with a guy, Drew Hardy. He's a bodybuilder at the time, and I was just like logging hours with him, running downtown Clayton Main Street. Yeah. Calling my high school coach, telling me he saw me. They would see me with my shirt off, this scrawny kid running with this buff weight eating guy, and burpees and stuff at like 6 a.m. I'm going to Clayton Fitness working out with him because I just had a fire that was lit up under me that I knew that I wanted to get somewhere, but nowhere. I just knew the time I was logging, it was going to pay off somehow, and if it didn't, when those 99 guys were going to run into Gary Clark, I've been doing something I know they haven't been doing. And that, it ended up like, I tell my little brother, max out every day. And because a lot of times, it's cool to be where everybody else is, and your friends and stuff like that. You don't want to be an outcast and you don't want to be like uncool. But I'm like, he told me the other day, he's like, man, I found I'm fast. He's been with my trainers for like this last like 8 months. So I found how fast I was, bro. I'm like, yeah, you've been training. You've been putting that time in. I was like, he's late to like sports and stuff. I was like, bro, if you max out every day, give every day you'll find out just how good you are, and you'll find out just how much the separation is from kids throughout the summer when it's high school to the college to NBA. That
Yes.
just showing up and being disciplined is like you're going to see it like and not just see it a little bit. You're going to see it drastically.
Yeah.
And it's hard to tell kids that because it's so easy just to play video games and just chill.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just show up, be disciplined, and literally just put the time in, you'll start to make your friends be uncomfortable, but they're gonna get in line, or you're gonna be that much ahead that it's gonna be without question that you've been putting the work in.
Mm-hmm. I can definitely see that. I want to just step in and just make one comment on that, because that's such a great statement. And I often tell Diego and then even other people in the business community more in my realm that, I'm not the best businessman, but I stuck with it. And so many people, they get discouraged, and most people don't make it just because they quit. They fall off, or they don't have, the work ethic to stick with it, or they're so intimidated because they think everybody's so much better than them, and then that causes them to give up, not realizing that if they can just put the work in, they can catch and pass those people. So.
Right.
And next question I have, it's you play in the NBA, all different types of leagues. So like, what's your drive to get back to the NBA?
Man, I'm trying to make sure I phrase it right, because the NBA, of course, is everyone's dream, right? Well, for me, again, I didn't know that I could go get a scholarship. As I found out I was pretty good, 7th, 8th grade year. I didn't know the college, like scholarship going to school for free, existed until like after my freshman year in high school. Right. So, if you could just imagine, how long it probably took for me to realize that I possibly could go to the NBA. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that until like my junior, senior year in college.
Wow.
It was always like, I'm going to get a degree.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to get a degree, and whatever else happened after that, I'm going to be able to help my family, and that's going to be cool. So, the NBA stuff, I'm not going to say it wasn't like, I saw it, but to be honest, I never even watched basketball. Like, NBA stuff, people used to ask me who's your favorite player. Like, I didn't get a favorite player until like college. Yeah. That's just how like I just love basketball, but I don't know how to, I don't know how to really break that down. But NBA and stuff was not necessarily a goal of mine. It was just, I was so a late bloomer to knowing what I could obtain with this sport. So I don't know how to really break it down, but I was just such a late bloomer to the NBA, and so when I got there, it was almost surreal when I obtained it, but it definitely came with more than just basketball, more than just enjoyment for various reasons, that it almost like took the joy of it away from me. Mm-hmm. So many guys talk about the mental health lately and being vocal like more, and a lot of people don't understand it because most of the time either they're so unrealistic about it, about what's going on in their lives. Mm-hmm. But I know firsthand that I dealt with a lot of mental health things that like made the NBA not fun for me. So, right now, the last year I've done a lot of working on it, and I just signed in Australia, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yes, congrats.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And NBA is always the best job in the world. I would never tell that's never shy of it, but I had to do some real real work mentally, and to always keep myself grounded and know that It's not just about basketball. There's a lot of politics to go into it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of mind games that go into it. And there's a lot of other agendas that each, like the GM has, the owner has, that the coach has, the veterans on the team have, because their contract's up. And there's games that's always being played that's not even the basketball part.
Right.
And I spent so much time trying to, I'm a huge overthinker, and I used to, I'm so personable, and I pride myself on who I am, and doing the right things, and
right.
Got to that point, to the NBA, the right things, always don't get you the playing time. The right thing doesn't always keep you from getting fired.
Yeah.
And some of those things were like so hard to understand and wrap my mind around, because I worked so hard to be this, personable person and do the right things, and it just spiraled. So I've been really doing the hard work mentally, and I've been putting the hard work on the court, because I lost some of my things being confused about how to be able to obtain something that's just not the NBA stuff.
Yeah.
Back to what I said at the beginning, it was never really I wouldn't say a goal of mine, but it wasn't in my living quarters of thinking, and just my thing was, I'm gonna go to college, and I'm gonna do what I can do with it, and go overseas and travel the world, and see what I can see, because my family had never traveled a lot, so I wanted to do that. So I've been mentally working hard on my the mind games, and just putting the time in on the court inside those lines, so that when I do get back to the NBA, I'm prepared. I'm able to do everything that I need to do, and just cut out all the noise, and don't dive too much into, just because you do all the right things, you don't necessarily pan like it was, and just again eliminate the distractions, man. I've done such a hard a lot of time, and just soul searching this last year, and like I said, I've been so excited about this Australian job that I have coming up.
Yes.
It's been on my bucket list since I was a kid. Just I've done the work as far as ready to get back to that job, get back to that if it comes.
Yes.
I'm very happy and content with going to Australia and being the best version of Gary Clark, and being able to allow myself to really truly appreciate the fullness of Gary that I am now.
Right. That makes a ton of sense. I want to ask one more in between with what you got to go along with that. So, your game is a team game. You're a team guy, having quadruple doubles and whatnot, all around game. And the European game seems to be more of that. They typically, at least from my eyes, you can correct me if I'm wrong, play more of a team style of ball. We hear a lot of guys that are coming over to the NBA. Heck, Wemby has even already said it. Luka, talk about how it's easier to score in the NBA versus, in the European League. Can you maybe tell us about how your game will fit in the Australian League that you're going to, and also just kind of school us a little bit about the Australian League that you're about to play in?
Oh yeah. So the NBL, LaMelo Ball actually played for the team that I'm going to play with before he got drafted to the Hornets, and I'm pretty sure he's part owner now. So the NBL is an Australian league. The style that they play is similar to America. It's almost like, it's very similar to America, actually. Okay. It's a fast game. The three-point line is a little shorter than the NBA. But my game translates just because, the difference, the NBA is the NBA. Giannis, the Greek freak, he's the Greek freak. For the reasons of that. The Joker, he's the Joker. And you got LeBron, you got Kevin Durant. You know, you have all these, you know, really talented guys and just like outrageously gifted and like just build of people. And you go to other leagues across the country, the world, and there is no, you know, Greek freak. There is no Kevin Durant. So it's more of a, everyone is almost on the same level playing field, almost, you know.
Okay.
Besides the, you know, different things of each guy's talent, height. But, you know, in this league, everyone is, you know, it's almost like who has done the most work, you know, as far as the unit. And getting back to, you know, my grounds and roots of who I am and the way I play the game, they had a great atmosphere. And I know how important having everyone on the same page and feeling as important as your best player and how much success you can have and how healthy of an environment you can have when you have everyone who feels that they're on the same playing field as the guy who plays 35 minutes, as a guy who is mostly a practice player and only gets 5 to 10 minutes. And I've always been that guy on every team that whoever is the guy on the end of the bench, I'm going to treat as if he's like shooting the last shot and we rely on him. And it's guys engaged all year has been something that I always pride myself on. And then, you know, going to the NBA, being that guy on the end of the bench and, you know, understanding what it feels like and how the superstars treat you and how the guys in the middle who are so frustrated with the superstars, how they treat the end of the bench, how the coaches got in. Because I've been that guy. I've been in every kind of role. And even before being in that bottom of the role, I've always been the superstar at high school, college, and to where I knew, you know, I kind of been in a lot of ends of it. So I don't know. It's the NBL and the way they structure the Hawks have their stuff this year. I couldn't be more excited to be a part of. You know, finally a healthy environment that, you know, everyone is held at the same level of expectations every day, and being able to be fully Gary and know that I won't be, you know, I won't get punished or it won't matter.
Yeah, man, we're excited to watch the NBL and watch you guys do your thing this year. So we're gonna be following you every step of the way.
Oh yeah.
All right, man. Let's get into your next one, buddy.
All right. You mentioned how it is to play in how the NBL, how the Australian game is. I want to know how it is to actually play in an NBA game, like the whole environment and how all of that is like.
That part is everything you think it is. Like outside of all the other stuff that I've talked about, the politics and GM owner, when you step on the court, I don't care what arena it is, it's massive. You know, there's these players are huge. You know, every team has a center, every team has a forward, and it starts at 7 feet. You know, 7 feet, 6'10". So, you know, people see these people on TV, and it does not match what it is on the court. You know, I'm sure you've met a lot of players, and you know, you say, "Oh, they're so big," but when you get on this massive court in this massive arena with these massive people who are so talented, you know, you almost gotta take it in for what it is. But I don't care what anybody say. Every time I step on the court, that is the first thing that's on me. It's a massive gym, massive court, massive. You know, it's a big. It's everything's big. You know, everything's at the biggest things that you can think of as far as this sport that we love and enjoy. And you know, a lot of times, you know, those butterflies, those pregame butterflies, oh, they're there every game. For me, you know, I know a lot of guys speak about, you know, that the start of the game is just always, you know, what it is. And I don't know how else to explain it. Like, it is a big, powerful moment of like just surrealness, especially at big games, like where you know, Houston, when I was in Houston versus Golden State, like the first KD's like, you know, he's there and they coming off a championship and, you know, Houston lost the year before and I check in the third quarter and my first real big moment minutes, you know, if you don't grab yourself back, it's like you're gonna jitters because the other going right at the young guy.
Yes.
Not even embrace this moment, so we go at him, and it's gonna mess up their whole little scheme. And you know, teams do that still to today. Like if you see a young guy get in the game this year on certain teams, the better team is, I don't care what number that guy got picked, and they're going at him because that moment is always that moment.
Okay.
And so it's a fun moment though. It's intense. It's like you enjoy it for a second, but like as soon as you can get it back on and just, all right, I'm playing basketball.
Yeah.
It's like you don't even realize how big everything is. You're just like playing basketball again.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, the big arena, big players, like, yeah, that's crazy. So how do you prepare for those types of days? How do you prepare for a game day?
So I'm a breakfast person. Me and my father, we're at a brunch spot right now. Like this is my go-to all day. My mom and my dad growing up, we used to eat breakfast every meal. I would want breakfast every meal. And breakfast, we usually have a team scout where we go through stuff, walk through some stuff, film. So that's the other part about those big moments we just talked about. The preparation is basically nothing, you know. So that's the other part about being an NBA player is your preparedness, your discipline to do your own homework, to, you know, because they don't have time to really go over a scout. You get paid and you're expected to put the time in to know your stuff, so that way they don't have to take that much time. Because in high school and college, younger people, they got to go over stuff over and over and over and over again. NBA, it doesn't work that way. You made it here. You should know that the studying that you should do has to be the preparation of like how you be successful. And so after that 20-minute session of walkthrough and film, and you get all this information, you then go back and nap, and let your mind rest, because if you don't, then, you know, again, that big surreal moment, of course, you can't have, you know, all these outside distractions. And, you know, I kind of like shut off from the world after the shoot around, so that I could just decompress and get ready for this, you know, game. And I read my Bible. You know, I'm big into my faith, and I always take the time to either read my Bible before my nap and sleep on what I read, or wake up from my nap to like have some kind of groundwork that I put in before I go to the arena. Because, you know, as soon as you get on the bus, the big moments begin, because as soon as you get off the bus, there's fans everywhere. Before you get on the bus, there's fans everywhere. And you get to the arena, and it's slowly progressing to get to game time. And then you run out, and you're in this big space where, you know, you're reminded that, like, you are in the NBA, and this is the NBA. And so that's kind of the groundwork that I do. Yeah, but a lot of clarity that has to go into every game.
That's a lot of preparation. I didn't know, man, but that was so good to know. And the last question here is, what was the best fan base that you think you played for?
You might get me in trouble with this one. Honestly, New Orleans. New Orleans. Okay. You know, and something about like the South, you know, they ride for their fans. I don't care. You know, you can tell they had a lot of down years.
Yeah.
And when I was there, they were on the up and up. We made the playoffs that year, and you know, just when it was time to show up, they showed up and showed out, like on a level like a real family level, like that NOLA love that they give everybody. It was there every night. I don't care if you played 2 minutes or 30 minutes. If you lost the game for the team or not, they riding for you. You go to any restaurant, they coming to talk to you. They not overbearing you. They're like restaurants showing love and support, and by far the best fan base. I felt so loved and at home everywhere I went during the games. People were calling me, talking to me, encouraging me. I think that's why I had probably one of my better stints there, because mentally I would put so much pressure on myself with those big moments prepping, that if I did make a mistake, that it didn't last long, because there was somebody's dad or somebody encouraging me right there, like, or a mom. It's all right, baby. It's all right. Don't worry about it. And just that home, that almost like that Johnston County love. And back home is in New Orleans, and I think anybody would say that that's played there or play there, that New Orleans have a certain type of love and appreciation for their players, both football and basketball, that can't go unnoticed. And I think of all the teams I played for, and that is the best fan base, I would say.
New Orleans.
New Orleans. That's one of your favorites.
We went to a game there one time. It was really fun. The fan base is great.
They feed you good too. Like that's the other part. You're gonna eat good, and they make sure they send you to the best restaurants, and then when you get there, I don't care how long the wait is, they're gonna make sure you taken care of. Baby, how many you got? Just real. Like everywhere, they just like, it's almost like aunties everywhere.
Wow. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, one thing that always stood out about me when I became familiar of you and in NBA and whatnot, you were with the Rockets, and I remember it just always stood out to me. I don't know what I was watching, listening to something on ESPN or whatever, but I remember Coach D'Antoni gave you a huge compliment. Like he said something in the press about you and just how impressed he was about your game and just how you approached everything. And that just always stood out to me when I heard that about you from him. And so
I appreciate that. Now, Coach D'Antoni, he said something that like really it helped me when I was in that space of like questioning why I didn't get drafted and stuff like that. And he was like, there's not 60 other guys that's better than Gary Clark, and it kind of went back to being the 100 guy, so in different steps and places in my life where somebody always reminded me of like, how it started and what got me through into the next phase of my life of basketball, and just as a young man at the time, and as the man I am today, that there's not 100 people better than me, or 99 people, and there's not 60, but even it doesn't exist. It's just the work, the discipline. That's all that matters. None of that other stuff matters. And you just look at my career and how things kind of panned out for the guy who was either never ranked or was 100 spot or never drafted. And, I've found myself now going overseas and excited about it. And some people think, oh man, you're out the league and stuff like that. But I wouldn't change anything. Everything that's happened to me and everything that I've gone through and everything I was able to achieve, like I'm blessed. I'm beyond blessed, for the highs, the lows, the success, the failures. And I wouldn't be here today as the person I am had I not been through all these things. So, back to Diego's question about getting to how do I get back? It's almost like kind of like the 100 thing or the 60, it's like I'm just working and I'm happy. I'm at peace, and whatever comes with it, comes with it. But I'm not, if I pay attention to anything else, it maybe derail me. It makes me fixate on something that at the end of the day, I knew those 100 guys wasn't better than me, and I knew 60 wasn't better than me. But the work was going to show, and the work that I put in mentally and on the court, that I've been putting in, man, I'm excited about my journey in Australia and whatever else after.
Well, we're definitely going to be watching you in Australia. And the team is the Hawks, right?
Yeah, Illawarra Hawks. Illawarra Hawks.
Illawarra Hawks. Okay.
It's in Walla. It's like 45 minutes south of Sydney, right on the beach. So,
okay.
Excited about that. Yeah, so I'll see you in video. The little setup they got me right on the. I'm right on the back of a golf course, and I've been playing more golf. You know, my back would tell me to stop, but
yeah,
I'm hooked right now, and I've been logging those swings.
Okay, all right. Well, hey, we love that. Now the home, you got to see the homie swing. So he's got a nice play. So when you get back from break, we got to go play golf. So yes.
Gotta make that happen because I'm telling you, Diego, I've been putting some swings in. Like, you know, I should have broke 100, but you know, they say you find a lot about people when you play with them. And you know, my buddies was coming out throwing, you know, dropping out of the woods, but somehow parring some of the holes that I was parring. No way. No way. You took that swings and then you 3-putted and we both got par. You know,
that's true.
I broke 100, I'm sure, because I had I think he logged me he scored 104 and I scored 106. And I'm like, probably got me about swings in there that should have been different.
For sure. Oh man, no, that's great to know. Now we'll definitely make that happen. We have an annual golf tournament every year, so yeah. But besides that, we'll just you know, 3 of us or get one more, go out and play. But man, it's been a blessing to have you on here. We appreciate the time that you get back to everything that you're doing. We'll be following you. And we just appreciate the time and love from Johnston County's own, Clayton and Smithfield's own Gary Clark, man. We're happy to have you on.
Appreciate you guys taking the time and, you know, allowing people to hear my story, you know, clear up some things, you know, as well, but also, you know, give the, you know, right recognition to, you know, some of the people who are part of my journey that don't get some of the credit, and you guys got, you know, some of the scoop on my journey, man. Some real good questions there that, you know, not many people ask, and I'm glad you guys asked me, and I can't wait to see, you know, when this drop and how far, you know, this podcast go, and hopefully I can be a part of another one here soon and give you a scoop about Australia.
Yes, we love to have you when you got some time, and pipe in, let us know how things are going. We'd love to have you back on when the time works for your schedule. So, yes. All right, well, we're going to get out on that note. So, Gary, when we say pick 'em pros, we go pick 'em pros. That's kind of how Diego started it. So, we're going to sign out on that. So, all right, y'all, until next time, we'll see you. Pick 'em pros.